This is Spectator Spider-Man 179. This is part 2 of the Children Within Me story arc. This is by Jim DeMatteis and John Buscema. And the first 2 parts of the story, they are a lot more focused on this baddie here, Vermin Man from Spider-Man's Last Hunt. That is where most people recognise him from. I said in part 1, he is one of my favourite Spider-Man enemies. And the first 2 parts of this story arc, they are as much as just straight up a story about Vermin Man. But after this part, he ends up being pushed more to the background, and the subplot with Larry Osborn takes centre stage as he becomes the new Green Gobbler. Still, it is all tremendous stuff, but I wanted to note that if you want a nice little Vermin Man tale, the first 2 parts of this story can fill that criteria. I think I'm the only one who is mad into Vermin Man though. I didn't mention in either of the 2 separate looks that I did at part 1 of this story, I didn't mention these sequences except to talk about John Buscema's art. These bits are us seeing tapes of therapy sessions between Dr. Ravenclaw and Vermin Man. And they clearly display that Vermin Man, he can be reached, he can be helped. Maybe the problem is, the story doesn't say this anyway, but I think the problem is that the extent of psychological help that Vermin Man needs, it cannot really be provided by a single person or maybe even an institute. He effectively needs constant treatment, he needs round-the-clock monitoring, stuff like that. Vermin Man, he has escaped and he has gone on a killing spree. He's been following a mysterious child around who is, spoilers, it is his inner child. And it has been leading him to his childhood home where he was abused by his father. The amount of Jim DeMatteis' characters who were abused by their fathers is in the hundreds. Then we have this creepy bit where Vermin Man, he sneaks into the house and he crawls into his father's bed and attempts to cuddle him, and he goes, "Daddy, I am home." And then the dad reaches for a gun that he keeps in the bedside cabinet. I just keep a torch and some batteries and a few wires in mine. So the dad shoots Vermin Man and he runs away injured and scared and screaming. Meanwhile, Spider-Man and family, they have gone to the graveyard for a nice summer's day out. And Spider-Man, well, he has traumatic flashbacks to the events of Spider-Man's Last Hunt. And he also hasn't been sleeping much either, because he has always been out hunting Vermin Man. So he ends up hallucinating Vermin Man is crawling out of his parents' grave. Different worry though, Vermin Man, he's not really there, and Spider-Man, he just looks like a weirdo having a panic attack over nothing. Subplot time with Larry Osborn and his declining mental health. Larry, he has been hassled by the Casper of his dead father, Norman Osborn. He is doing all the classic disapproving dad catchphrases. Stuff like, "Oh, you are no son of mine." So he's castigating his son, and Larry, he ends up snapping and yelling at his own son. That night, Vermin Man is loose in a park, and we get another glimpse at Dr. Ravenclaw's therapy sessions with him. Vermin Man, he's like a feral animal, but he does respond to therapy. It's just his mind is it's a bit childlike. Spider-Man, he shows up hoping that Dr. Ravenclaw can offer some lead to where Vermin Man has gotten to. We have some more of the 2 debating back and forth about whether Vermin Man is an evil monster who needs stopping, or if he's a tortured soul who needs saving. I do like how Spider-Man, While he begins the story thinking Vermin Man is nothing but a monster, his viewpoint is never presented as extreme or without sympathy. He's never presented as being obviously wrong. Spider-Man is thinking, which I didn't agree with by the way, is thinking that Vermin Man doesn't deserve help. It is fully fleshed out and it makes sense. And then as luck would have it, Vermin Man is literally outside Dr. Ravenclaw's window and he is surrounded by a police. And Spider-Man, he has started to learn that Vermin Man is a victim and he actually tries to approach him here, which you know I love. But the problem is, Vermin Man, he remembers Spider-Man beating him within an inch of his life in Spider-Man's last hunt. What actually happened was, Hunter Man beat him up, but he obviously doesn't know or even have the mental faculties to discern the difference between the real Spider-Man and when it was Hunter Man in disguise as Spider-Man. So we have got a chaotic fight between the two. This, of course, the ferocity that Vermin Man lashes out with, it won't help Spider-Man's overall view on Vermin Man. And the result is, Spider-Man, he responds and he ends up letting out a lot of built-up emotions. And he brutally beats Vermin Man into submission. But then Dr. Ravenclaw, she runs out and jumps in the middle and breaks up the fight. She saves Spider-Man from falling into the same darkness that has consumed Vermin Man. And then she tries to comfort Vermin Man. She reaches out to him, but he bites her hand and then he runs away. And Spider-Man is left with his sympathy for Vermin Man only lowered even more. The final scene is with Larry Osborn, who once more sees images of his dead dad, and he tells Larry that it is time for him to assume his rightful role as the Green Gobbler. We'll get to see a lot more of the Green Gobbler after this, and in my opinion, Larry Osborn is a better Green Gobbler than his dad ever was. This is really good. You didn't have to like Vermin Man like I did to appreciate this. This whole run is fantastic and Vermin Man is only in about 8 issues. The stuff with Larry Osborn is done nice and slowly, and it is setting up his stint as Spider-Man's arch nemesis, which was a high point for both his character and the Spider-Man books as a whole. We have got some compelling psychological and moral debate. We have got, like, if you ignore that it is Vermin Man, a character that I have already said I like and consider Spider-Man's best underused villain, we have got a really rather robust exploration of a rather minor bad guy story. I definitely rate this 7 thumbs up.